Thank you, Taylor. Is that about right, sound-wise? Okay, good, good. Well, good morning. Yes, surprised to see so many on a holiday weekend. Anyway, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northfield. My name is Katie Gillespie. I've been a member here since 2019. UUFN is an exclusive community that nurtures spiritual and intellectual growth and fosters ethical and social responsibility. If you are a visitor here, either on site or online, we are glad you're with us, and we invite you to stay after the service to get acquainted. We welcome your questions and look forward to getting to know you. Later in the service, we will take our Share the Plate offering for Clean River Partners. Clean River Partners brings together diverse partners, including residents, farmers, and landowners, in order to create a healthy and resilient Cannon River watershed. I call your attention to the announcements in your order of service and weekly email. There you'll find more information about the following. Next Sunday is our annual flower ceremony. Please bring a flower if you are able. If not, there will be extra. Next Sunday is also our new member in-gathering and the annual congregational meeting after the service. All are welcome to attend, but only members can vote. So it's going to be a very busy day next Sunday. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northfield.
Good morning. We are living in challenging times. I am blessed with a wonderful family and extended family, including all of you, who bring me great joy. But then there is the other side of the coin. The opportunity to experience the joys that come from a society where interdependence, pluralism, justice, equity, transformation, and generosity are UU values may be changing quickly and in ways I never expected. I lay awake thinking, what if my grandchildren end up living in a world where the truth is difficult to find because we have lost access to it? A world where positive life choices seem only available to those in power. Will Ethan and Livia think, how did Grandma Sue let this happen? Was she busy enjoying coffee time with friends and reading good books while our freedoms disappeared? As I lay there sleepless, I ponder, what is it that I truly believe? What do I really think freedom means? What is the best way to fight for it? What are the possible consequences of the decisions I make? Now, I am luckier than many people. I have all of you to support me, to be understanding if I don't make the right decisions the first time, or if I ask stupid questions. I have all of you to learn from, to point out important issues I have missed, strategies I never would have thought of. Being a UU at this time is a definite blessing, but even it has its challenges. As Reverend Sophia Bettendorf, our UU president, points out in the recent edition of UU World, those of you that get it, it's easy to think that we have all the answers, and if everyone just became a UU, all would be fine. Reverend Sophia points out, however, that the beautiful liberal teachings of our faith is based on were not initially written with the entire human family in mind. We have had to continually strive as a faith to widen the circle. After all, as UUs we say, we don't need to think alike to love alike. We don't need to think alike to love alike. A beautiful phrase. Still, lines must be drawn. Yes, widen the circle, but love must still be at the center. Evil can never be a part of the circle. This Sunday, we will look at what the word freedom means to us and hear some personal stories of those who have made difficult decisions for their beliefs. Hopefully, they will inspire us on our own journey of choices we make for our beliefs, the title of this service. Come, let us worship together. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Each Sunday when we gather, we bring this symbol of life together. Please join me in speaking the words for the lighting of the chalice. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another. Please join us in body or spirit to sing hymn 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Circle of kinship, come and stand
I invite you to allow yourself an unhurried breath. Relax your shoulders, inhale and exhale, and let your heart catch up with you in this moment. Rest in the embrace of a wider love. In the presence of this love that holds us all, we use our chalice flame to light our candles of community. We light our first candle as a blessing for the wider world, thinking about Robert Prevost, who grew up in a middle-class family on the south side of Chicago, a family who valued education and faith. Robert was a brilliant scholar who could have gone to school anywhere and had his choice of careers. What he chose was to become a missionary to Peru, serving some of the very poorest people in the world, living in community with them, and tending to their needs as he was able. This humble man recently became Pope Leo XIV. Let us all celebrate those who make good choices. We know too that the details of our daily lives are sacred and important. We now light a candle for all the simple joys that are sustaining us. The truth of your heart be reflected in these flames. Amen and blessed be.
Okay, our first reading is by Michael Sakasis. He says, freedom is not about being able to do whatever we want when we want. It has, whoops, I can't see it all. There we go. It has nothing to do with listening to our heart or following our dreams or whatever else it is we put on greeting cards and bumper stickers. Real freedom comes from learning to get out of our skull-sized kingdoms long enough to pay attention to the human being next to us so that we might treat them with decency and respect. The second reading is by Thomas Merton. There is something in the very nature of my freedom that inclines me to love, to do good, to dedicate myself to others. I have an instinct that tells me that I am less free when I'm living for myself alone. The reason for this is that I cannot be completely independent. Since I am not self-sufficient, I depend on someone else for my fulfillment. My freedom is not fully free when left to itself. It becomes so when it is brought into the right relation with freedom of another. We now expand our circle of care as we gratefully give and receive our morning offering. This is one way we make our care for the world tangible. This month, our Share the Plate recipient is Clean River Partners. You may donate by cash, check made out to UUFN with offering basket in the memo line, or online from our website, uunorthfield.org. You can scroll down to the bottom of the homepage and find the link. We now gratefully accept the offering. Will the ushers please come forward?
Thank you, Taylor. In our readings today, we heard what Michael Sakasis and Thomas Merton think freedom is. Before we continue, I want you to think about what you think freedom is. I will give you a minute to jot down a few ideas on the edge of your bulletin, or just think about it if you prefer. You will not be asked to share these later, but writing down the ideas will help you to clarify your thoughts. There are many different ways to think about freedom. I'm not going to tell you what I think the right definition is, because a concept like freedom is something that we think about over a lifetime, hoping to get a clearer and clearer understanding. Many of the important decisions that we make in life are based on our concept of freedom. Timothy Snyder is a contemporary American historian who has written the popular books On Tyranny and On Freedom. On Freedom was just published in 2024. Now, I was going to have the book to show you, but the library needed it back because it was on hold for someone else. Now, what I'm really hoping, it's on hold for one of you so you can read the whole book and then summarize it for me, because it's not the easiest read. But we are going to watch a clip of Snyder talking about freedom. I was surprised when I first heard his view of freedom. Perhaps you will be too.
My name is Timothy Snyder. I've written a book called On Freedom, and I've been asked to speak about what freedom is. So Let's start from what we get wrong. In America, when we talk about freedom, we're often angry, and that's a bad sign. When we talk about freedom, we should be happy. When we talk about freedom, we're very often thinking about us against the world, us against a barrier, us against something that's holding us back. And of course, that's important. It's not good to be held back. It's not good to be behind a barrier. It's not good to be oppressed. But that's only the beginning. When you're free of all of that, who are you? That's the real question. I've read about concentration camps being liberated. And when nurses and doctors arrived, they said, wait a minute, liberated is not the right word. Even if the Nazi guards are gone, people still need care, physical and mental, before they've been free. I've recently been in deoccupied zones of Ukraine, where people said much the same thing. It's good that the Russians are gone, that the torture has stopped, that the executions have stopped, that the kidnappings of children have stopped. But to be free, we need the rubble cleared. We need the services restored. We need the buses to run. And in these extreme cases, we can see an essential truth. Freedom is not negative. Freedom is positive. We need freedom from evil so that we can become the various interesting, eccentric, quirky, good kinds of creatures that we can be. Freedom is positive in a couple of ways. It's positive because it's about the good things in life, the values, the virtues. We're a special kind of creature in a special kind of world where we can affirm, judge, and bring into life the things that we think matter. Freedom is the condition in which that's possible. But how do you get to freedom? This is the second way that freedom is positive. It can't be done alone. No baby can create the roads or the universities or the schools that are going to be necessary for that child to grow up free. Freedom can only be achieved together. It requires collective work and generational work. And the name of that collective work and generational work is government. In America, we're held up by our wrong idea of negative freedom. We think government must be the problem. That's a mistake, and it's a mistake that makes us less free. The right kind of government is the government which exists for and is legitimated by actions to create the conditions for freedom. An example of how we get freedom wrong is the way we talk about free speech. We shouldn't talk about free speech at all. Speech can't be free, for that matter, nor can a country, nor can markets, nor can anything else that we put that adjective in front of, except for us. People can be free. The problem is not a trillion automatic utterances issued forth by the algorithms controlled by some Silicon Valley billionaire. That's not the problem. The utterances aren't the problem. The speech isn't the problem. The issue, the question, is the speaker. We need free speakers. The question of the freedom of speech starts with the free speaker. It has to be positive. It's of course, there shouldn't be barriers. Of course, a person shouldn't be restrained, but it's the person that we care about. And since it's the person we care about, we have to ask, is this person being defended? Is this person in a condition where this person can really speak his or her mind? Are we working together to make sure that's true? And the reason for all that, of course, is that freedom of speech is chiefly about not the billionaire, but about the poor person. It's not about the person who has power. It's about the person who challenges power. The purpose of freedom of speech is to protect those who are speaking truth to power. It's not to protect the powerful who are lying to us. So if we think about freedom positively, which I think is the right way to think about it, all of these notions that we say every day, these things we speak out loud, we might think again about. We might find richer ways to express ourselves, which lead us to a richer world with a better notion of freedom and much broader possibilities. Freedom of speech, not free speech. And best of all, free speakers. That's an example of how freedom is positive and not negative.
And now the choir will sing Be a Candle of Hope by Becky Slago Mayo. Thank you, choir. That candle of hope is the exact positive freedom that Timothy Snyder was talking about. So perfect choice, Taylor. Thank you. Now we are going to listen to some stories on how some of us made choices based on our beliefs. First, we're going to hear from Bert.
Is that about right? Okay. Good morning. My name is actually Burton Fleming, and I have been a member at UUFN since 2010. In the United States, on Memorial Day, 4th of July, we hear a lot of discussion and speeches about freedom. And I had been thinking about freedom even before I decided to take part in this memorial service. One conclusion I came to is that the word freedom means different things to different people and different things in different circumstances. The First Amendment of our Constitution implies that we have freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, so forth. In World War II, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the US president, gave a speech in which he identified 4 freedoms: freedom from fear, freedom from want, and applied that to everyone in the world. A different take on freedom comes from the Eagles song, Desperado. To quote the lyrics, freedom, oh freedom, that's just some people talking. Your prison is walking through this world all alone. The story I'm going to share probably has more to do with Desperado than it does with the First Amendment. Sue asked for people to share thoughts about experiences we've had in which our choices match up with our core values. Over the years, I've often thought about beliefs and values. As I mentioned before, in 2010, I joined UUFN. And one of the things that convinced me that this was a good place for me to be was a little card that listed the 7 principles of UU. The one I'll talk about today is what is usually listed as the first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Over a span of years, acceptance of that principle has guided a number of decisions. In 1982, before I knew anything about UUFN or UU, I was employed as a social studies teacher in Granite Falls, Minnesota. One day, the principal called me into the office and said, well, Bert, like a lot of other rural schools, Granite Falls is losing enrollment. And within a few years, we are going to need only 3 social studies teachers. You happen to be 4th on the seniority list. He said, the good news is we are also going to need a teacher to work with students who have emotional and behavioral issues. I think you could do a good job with that. It does require that you get certified in special education. So I made a decision. At the time I was working on a graduate program in history. I decided to discontinue that program and began the program to be certified in special education. I decided that the principal I trusted him a lot, and I thought that he was giving me good, solid advice. So that's what I decided to do. In 1991, I left Granite Falls and took a job with the Goodhue County Education, Special Education District. And that was headquarters in, it included all of Goodhue County, so Red Wing, Cannon Falls, Zumbrota, or some of the towns. And I continued in that job until I retired officially from in the year 2000. I kind of failed at retirement. I came back to work for Granite Falls or for Northfield schools for a period of time after that. So my story probably doesn't match up real well with the character in Desperado. I've never felt that I've been walking through the world all alone. I've had, especially in Granite Falls and then in Goodhue County, and there were students, there were teachers, there were administrators, and I felt like I was getting pretty good support from all of them. I will just conclude by two observations that I've made after working on this. The first is that some of the choices we make are difficult because of circumstances that we have no control over. I didn't have any control over decline in enrollment, but I needed to make a decision what I was going to do with my teaching degree. The second is that my experience working with students, parents, teaching colleagues over the years has made me even a stronger believer in the first principle, the first UU principle, no inherent worth and dignity of every person. Students taught me a lot, and that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Bert. And I want you to know I really didn't have to twist his arm too much to get him to do that. He was willing. Many of you know I lived for 18 years on the Blackfeet Reservation in northwest Montana. The reservation borders Glacier National Park on the east and Canada on the north. In the summer, it is busy with tourists, but quite isolated the rest of the year due to its location. My husband and I, along with our sons, ran a tourist business right outside the park border. We were lucky that in this very rural area, our closest neighbors were a family with two sons close to my son's ages and their little sister. The kids spent most of their time playing together. Oh, there they are. In the picture, you see my son Thomas on the left, Lukey with the braids next to him, Sierra in the middle, my son Robert pointing at the sign, and Truman at the other end. My sons were a part of the 3% white population of the school district. North American Indian Days, held on the Blackfeet Reservation, is always held the second weekend of the summer and is one of the largest powwows out west. The powwow is open to all, and many tourists include a visit to this powwow along with a trip to Glacier National Park. As this was one of the busiest times of the year for our tourist business, Larry and I were never able to get away to take the kids to the large Saturday powwow. Instead, our friends Nita and Russell, parents of the children in the picture, would stop to pick up my sons to go with them. One year, my sons arrived home much earlier than usual. Even young children are often at a powwow until the early hours of the morning. The boys checked in with us and went to bed. The next day, our friend Nita stopped in our business and asked if Robert and Thomas had said anything about the powwow. I replied that they had said the usual things, friends that they ran into there and what they ate. She then explained that the evening had been a little different than usual. The Blackfeet Tribal Council at that time was going through an anti-white phase. one of the tribal council members was acting as MC of the powwow. He was making anti-white jokes. Nita said she looked around and saw many of the tourists with confused looks on their faces. As many of you know, understanding the humor of a different culture can be difficult. Nita said she could tell that the white tourists didn't know if they were being insulted or not. Nita said, "We didn't want Robert and Thomas to be exposed to what was being said, and we didn't want our own children to hear it either." Nita and Russell stood up, gathered the kids together, and left. Our friend Russell died this past summer. When I heard the news, I immediately thought of this incident. Russell was a kind, quiet, and very reserved man. I know how difficult it must have been for him to stand up in front of his community and leave this event. But Nita and Russell made the decision to stand up for their belief that everyone has a right to be treated with respect. I want to make sure you understand this incident with the anti-white remarks did not give me negative views about the Blackfeet people. I have great admiration for the Blackfeet culture and fond memories of raising my family, teaching in the local school district, and running our business there. No matter where any of us lives, there will be people who make choices that we disagree with. I would hope that the MC making the negative remarks has had a change of heart. The Blackfeet Reservation is still what my sons consider their childhood home. There is a reason why my sons didn't tell us about the powwow incident themselves. They knew that for any remarks occasionally made against them, there were people like Nita and Russell who went out of their way to support them. I have another picture to show you with Seth's help. There they are. This is a picture of Lukey, Thomas, Robert, and Truman at the memorial service for my husband. When Larry died 12 years ago, Nita and Russell and the family drove through a blizzard over the mountains to be with us in our new home in Troy, Montana. Nita brought me the first picture of the 5 as children. I took the picture of the 4 of them shown now as adults. I sent that picture to Nita. I keep the 2 pictures together in a frame in my bedroom. This summer, Thomas, Robert, and my granddaughter Livia were able to attend Russell's funeral at the family home on the reservation. When they were sitting in the house with Nita, Robert noticed she had the very same 2 pictures on her dresser, side by side. Respect each other, a belief to stand up for. And now we will hear from Steph on choices he has made based on his beliefs.
Thank you, Sue. Greetings and salutations, fellow sentient UU members. The day I woke up with no money. The day I woke up with no money occurred when I was in my second year of art grad school at St. Cloud State University. I was around 27 at the time and somewhat aware that I was reaching the bottom of the barrel financially. I'd been making some of a living by drawing life portraits of people, for about $50 per portrait. But still, it really wasn't enough to live on. And when the day arrived, it was not unexpected. So upon waking up that morning, I decided that I would go down to the social services agency in St. Cloud and see what they could do to help me. Basically, I was seeking welfare. Social agency people were nice, and after I explained my circumstances, they said they could help me with paying my rent and providing money for food. But then they mentioned that I would have to perform some work for the money. For the work, it required approximately 24 hours per week, which at first didn't seem so bad. I would report to the county municipal garage at 8 in the morning. And initially, the work I did was inside the garage, doing jobs like sweeping the floors and washing the windows, cleaning the bathrooms, things like that. Well, then one day, I was driven out to some county road in Stearns County, given a huge double-bladed axe and told to begin chopping down these small twigs of trees that were growing alongside of the road. So picture this. It's about 35 degrees. The weather is gray and gloomy. It feels like it's going to snow. I'm out with about a half a dozen other guys, and presuming they were in similar circumstances to myself. And we're all swinging these axes, chopping down these little dinky trees out on this rural county road where a car might go by like every 10 minutes or so. It struck me as very bizarre and surreal. It was at that moment that the epiphany struck me like a bolt of lightning. What are you doing out here? And why are you here? And when I faced myself, I had to respond that all my choices had brought me to this moment in time. And if I was going to change things, I would have to begin making better choices and pulling myself back out of what was going to take some profound effort. At that moment, I swore that whatever it took, I was going to turn my life around, get off welfare, and get on a better track for my life. Now, what I had going for me was the fact that I had just spent an amazing summer at the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon, completely changing the course and direction of my art. I also resolved that what I needed to do was go back to Saskatoon, in the middle of winter, and make art. Sensible, yeah? Over Christmas, I began a campaign of financial self-promotion, visiting friends and offering my new work at somewhat discounted prices, and I had some sales. My orchard friend Dennis, who I'd known since childhood days, where we'd played in the apple orchard that his father had planted and he'd grown up in. And of course, at that point, we'd sometimes enjoy a little reefer together. So Dennis bought one of my prints, and then I stopped in to see my local banker friend, Peter, who I had known since the days of my paper route, when I would come into the bank, barely see over the teller counter, and deposit my $3 or so in my savings account for my college education, which I began saving for when I was like 8 years old. I told him of my situation and that if I could have a loan of $500, that would make all the difference for my intended trip back to Saskatchewan to spend the last months of my graduate year at St. Cloud making art for my graduate thesis show, which all graduate art graduates are required to do. He gave me the loan. With that, I loaded up my 68 Pontiac Bonneville Catalina four-door sedan, and with my art supplies, and around January 3rd or so of 1978, headed back to Saskatoon. Now, just as an aside, well, the winters here in Minnesota are bad. Let's just say that the winters in Saskatoon are a whole nother level of bad. Oh my God. But I was not to be deterred. No, sirree. The head of the printmaking department at the University of Saskatchewan was a former St. Cloud graduate who'd gone on to become a master printer in lithography. Lithography is a printmaking technique that requires a high degree of skill and time to perfect. And Chuck was the best at the process. Thanks to his printmaking teacher at St. Cloud State, who was also my printmaking teacher as well. His name was Mr. Bill Ellingson, a man whose generosity and spirit I can only hope to emulate for myself. He was accepted, Chuck was accepted to the best school in the country for lithography, and after graduating, went on to print for all of the most noted artists of the time at a print shop at the University of South Florida in Tampa Bay, before ending up in Saskatchewan. Upon arrival, I found a cheap room for sleeping, because that's all I was going to be using that room for, and immediately began working. I generally worked anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a day, learning the art of lithography and making new work. To further assist me financially, the wife of the printmaking teacher, Cheryl, worked out arrangements with the Saskatoon school superintendent, Mr. Bob Diltz, to hire me as an artist in residence. What this involved was visiting elementary grades in the school system and spending about an hour talking about my art and my life. I'm pleased to say that on several occasions, the teachers wrote to Mr. Diltz to say how enjoyable my presentation was, and for which Mr. Diltz wrote me several letters of commendation. So, when May finally arrived, and it was time for me to return to St. Cloud to hang my show, I returned with a renewed sense of purpose, a new portfolio of art, and a new perspective for my life. In summary, when I reflect upon this time in my life and the choices I had to make, I have to thank all the people who helped me to redirect and change the course of my life. I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, that due to their help, I was able to make the changes needed to turn my life around and to never again find myself on a cold December day on a county road chopping down tree twigs with a double-bladed axe.
Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, If I Had a Hammer. Because of the time here, we're just going to sing the first two verses.
All of this land, I can
Thank you, Taylor. You may be seated. Our closing benediction is a quote from Pope Francis, a man who always strove to make the right choices in life. If he felt he didn't get it right the first time, he kept on trying. Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you. We join together in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise in body or spirit, and with your hands over your heart, or holding a hand of those next to you, or whatever posture is most comfortable for you, we sing the words of our blessing one to another.